Hey everybody, Custom Mike's here. I am here with Dave Crook of Crook's Creations, right?
Hi, Mike.
How we doing today?
We're doing good. Mike wants to take a little review of all the cars I build, or most of them anyway. So we'll go through and I'll say a little bit about each one and see if he thinks that's enough, or I can say some more if he wants more.
I figured I had to take this opportunity. It's not that often you get to spend time with somebody that has built so many cars over such a length of time at such level of quality. And the awards kind of speak for themselves, you know. These are just some of them, right? Some of the big ones. And we have another one on sneak peek right there. We'll talk about that one later.
Well, I think this all started, of course, with early 50s custom cars, but I think it was always as much about car design as it was about having a cool custom car. I remember when I was about 12, 13 years old, I saw an article in Motor Trend magazine talking about Art Center College of Design. Told my parents, I want to go there and become a car designer.
Yeah.
Well, that was never to be, but that's okay because my career has worked out well. I've been blessed fantastically over the years with a wonderful career. So we'll review some of the cars I built and tell you a little bit about them. I did start building cars at 11 years old, a 48 Plymouth, and then went to a couple 47 Fords. And then when I was 20 years old, I built this 58 Pontiac, which I used to be a lot faster in those days. I built that car in 9 months.
Yeah.
And I debuted it on my 21st birthday at the Buffalo Autorama and was fortunate enough to win Best Custom of the show.
Wow.
And then it was picked by CarCraft magazine as one of the 10 best in the country for 63.
Yeah, that was quite a car. There's more story in the garage about that one too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go on all day, I guess, if you wanted to hear every detail. Then where's the next one? The next one would have been my 47 Ford. Since I never finished the 47 Ford when I was a kid, I wanted to do the car I dreamed of having when I was in high school. So this is a little beyond that, but I hooked up with Harry Bradley to help me design it, which he would say he designed it around my shopping list. And that one was very successful too. Was on the cover of Street Rodder, on the cover of Rodder's Journal. I built the chassis first with a 500-inch Cadillac engine. And all the details were just kind of incredible. So many people say, but every time I see this car, I see something different, which was true.
One of the first ones with the flip-out front skirt, too.
Yeah, I asked Harry, what do you think about enclosing the front wheels like the old Delahaye's from Europe? And we did a little mock-up, and we both said, no, that doesn't work. So I said, well, maybe we could enclose them partially.
Yeah.
And then we came up with this partial design, and they turn with the wheels, as you can see in that picture. When you turn the wheels, they open up.
Fantastic idea.
Then the next thing, while I was working at, I don't have a picture of the car here that started this, but I built a 67 Pontiac Catalina 2+2, the 421 4-speed ones.
Uh-huh.
And that was in 67. I chopped the roof on it and did all the typical stuff. And I drove it to Detroit for our meeting with Fisher Body, our national meeting, and the chief engineer wanted to show it to Bill Mitchell, who was, of course, head of GM Styling, and he offered me a job at Styling, which I thought was fantastic. Fisher Body was nice enough to let me go, and I transferred to Styling.
That's a fantastic idea, or a fantastic development out of building a car that you have a passion for, and it turns into a job for you.
Yeah. And while I was there, of course, I ended up being what they call a technical stylist, which is the engineer in the design studio. Your main job is to make a full-size engineering drawing of the clay model. And while I was there, I decided to build a brand new 70 Firebird. And I worked in a building full of designers, probably hundreds of them, but I wanted Harry Bradley to design it for me. So I contacted him. I got his phone number from the Alexander brothers, and I called him and asked him if he'd design it. And he says, I don't know, I'll let you know. He called Day Brothers to see if they thought I was capable of building it, and they must have said yes, because he said, okay, I'll design it for you. And I had a real shopping list. I wanted to chop the roof, and I said maybe we section it just a little bit, and I wanted closed wheels in the back. And he did a couple sketches. He says, we don't need to section it. Whatever you want to chop the roof, we'll drop the belt line the same amount, and it'll look like it's sectioned. And of course, it had the closed wheels. And then I told him, I want to keep the original hood on the front end. And he did several sketches, and they were all good, but they didn't knock my socks off. I said, okay, do one with a different hood. And this is what we ended up with. He did several different ones, but this is the one I liked the best.
That's fantastic. And then this one, I was...
the truck, I guess.
Oh, the truck first. We got to do the truck. That's right. That was an original SS, wasn't it?
This was, a 1990 Chevy 454 SS. So I wanted to try and do what a concept truck would look like at that time.
Yeah, this thing's beautiful. There was so many things on this thing that most people don't even realize that you did, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of the same way. One thing I didn't do was chop it.
Yeah, that was a strange one for me to see that you didn't. What was the biggest hurdle on this one?
Those wheel openings were a lot of work, and I don't know how many people are aware of it, but GM makes some of the sheet metal out of 22 gauge sheet metal, and on this truck, everything was 20 gauge, except the front fenders. So making that shape on the front fender and welding it all to 22 gauge sheet metal was a real chore.
It was getting a little wumply, huh?
Yeah, and then I modeled the whole front end in clay first, and the grill bar and the bumper fascia, those were made in fiberglass, and they bolt on just like a current production car.
Okay. Mimicking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? That's one of the things that I really enjoyed a lot, was coming over to your place and then seeing the drawings and then seeing you making it from nothing.
Then I did this Grand Prix and wanted that to look like a concept car also. Detroit might have done in the late 60s of a Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And Harry did that one for me too, over my shopping list again. It's chopped just 2 inches. We didn't want to overdo it. And the windshield's laid back and the back window's laid down, so it all looks like it belonged that way. The doors are lengthened 10 inches. There used to be a quarter window in here, so now it's just one big door.
Yeah.
We made the headlights from scratch. Those grill panels open for cooling. So, you know, Pontiac had a model called the Bonneville. Of course, the Grand Prix isn't a Bonneville, but those closed panels like that kind of give it a Bonneville flair.
Yep. And we're going to see this car live too in a bit. So.
And that's all the cars I built in the office here. We got some more in the garage.
So tell us about this award.
I love to go to concourse shows. The people at the concourse shows really seem to enjoy my cars. In particular, they enjoy the Grand Prix. This is from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And there's several retired GM designers live in Santa Fe, and they put on this concourse.
Yeah.
And they asked me to bring it to that show, and this is the award I won for special interest at the Santa Fe, New Mexico concourse.
Just beautiful. Cool. Well, let's go into the carcade.
Okay. Rain says, let me hide in the closet.
There she is. But let's start over here. Oh, you got a bunch of signatures there too.
This is just a little get-together Tom Taylor put together at the National Hot Rod Museum. We had some of this is Junior. Winfield was there, and I can't even think. What's Dean Jeffries?
Yeah.
And Watson. Watson's the other one. There's Bill Hines. I guess that takes care of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all got up and gave a little talk about their history, and the hobby.
Yeah.
This is something Dave Bell did for the Alexander brothers, a kind of a caricature of most of the cars that they put together.
Yeah, amazing brothers.
A lot of Harry Bradley stuff here, of course. Diora's Harry Bradley. This Alexa they put together for the Ford Custom Car Caravan. Harry designed that one for him. This one was owned by Bob Masseron, just a customer of A Brothers. I think that's all that Harry was involved in.
Yeah.
Here's some better pictures of the truck. There's a comparison. I owned two of them at one time, the stock one and the modified one.
Before and after.
And there's the original sketch. The car ended up a little different than that, but the truck rather.
Yeah.
But that was the original proposal.
And it's amazing how close you got to the intent, you know. And a lot of times when a concept car versus the final production model, there's a huge difference.
Yeah, well, you're blessed a little bit as a customizer because you can do a lot of things you can't do in production.
Yeah.
You can break a lot of rules that don't meet government standards and all that kind of stuff.
True that. Customizing is a very unique thing, you know.
This was just a poster from 2018 when they inducted me into the West Coast Customs Hall of Fame.
That was a good one. I was happy to be there too. One of Dave's favorite quotes.
I guess I can read that for you. You probably can't read it on the video. This is from Vince Lombardi, the old coach of the Green Bay Packers. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. I've had that for decades, and I always try to follow it.
Yeah.
This was an award that the general manager of Cadillac gave me for my 47 Ford. There's a picture of Harry and I in that.
Yeah. If you get time to stop the video and read it, it is a huge endorsement of Dave's level of excellence in what he does. So.
This, of course, everybody's probably seen the colorized
Yeah.
photo that Rick Hovind colorized, and those are the cars I fell in love with at about 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
They're all in there.
Yeah, that's neat to have the information there too. So here we go to one of your first big ones.
Yeah, this is the 58 Pontiac again, of course, and I had an accident with that. We were taking it to a show in Ohio. I lived in Buffalo at the time, and a friend of mine was driving my candy red 60 Pontiac, and he fell asleep and ran into me. Maybe Mike can come over and show a little shot of that.
Oh yeah,
What
right
happened
there.
to it there?
Uh-oh. That is a bummer.
So
that was a twofer going down before the show.
Yeah, both of them got wrecked.
Oh no.
So then it was redone like this. I changed the grill a little bit and put 63 Grand Prix quarter panels and door skins on it, and fast top using 63 Corvette. This was in the day of the asymmetrical styling fad, which I'm not too much of a fan of now, but I thought it was cool
Yeah.
in the early 60s.
Well, I mean, styles change and, you know, things grow.
This is the 67 Pontiac that I built. Fellow I worked with when I was a training center instructor for Fisher Body, he was the Pontiac instructor. They could order whatever they wanted as a company car and drive it for 3,000 miles and get an extra discount. Well, he ordered this 2+2 67 Catalina 421 4-speed, and he planned to give it to his son, which he did after he got 3,000 miles on it, and his son wrecked it the first week.
Oh no.
So I was able to buy it off him. This would have been in, the summer of '67, and I put a Grand Prix front end on it, which had the hidden headlights. The
Yeah.
Catalinas didn't have that. Chopped the roof 4 inches, and all the typical stuff. The rendering shows skirts on it. I never did do that.
Yeah, that's a huge roof to chop, too. Was it difficult, or what was the challenge with
Well,
that?
I've learned an awful lot. I did that one. I don't know if anybody does them that way, but I cut the roof in 4 sections.
That's a lot of work.
So I widened it,
Yeah. And like,
lengthened it, laid the back window down. What am I trying to say here? Then I took a new roof skin
oh, yeah.
and welded it all around the perimeter where you can get at it.
Yeah.
You know, some of these guys cut them right over the door glass through the middle, and you can't reach it. You can't do a decent job, or it's harder than heck to do a decent job. So that worked out well. And as I progressed in my design ability, I think now all cars should have the windshield laid back a little bit.
Yeah.
Even the 40s cars. My 47 Ford that you saw had it laid back to about 47 degrees. And you don't even notice that when you look at the car, but it makes it look a lot better. If you ever get a chance to look at a 41 Buick and look at the windshield angle, you'll notice how much they're laid back compared to a 41 Ford. This is kind of a collage I put together of all my stuff.
Yeah. A lot of old cool pictures.
I don't know if these will show up. There's me letting the door on the Firebird and modeling the front end in clay. I got it half done and sent a picture to Harry, and we got it approved halfway, so then I did the other half. These are some of my early cars. Here's my 48 Plymouth the day I brought it home at 11 years old and was washing it. Some customizing I was doing.
At 11.
Yeah, 11 and 12.
Yeah. Right there.
Then this is at 14. This is so low in the back and high in the front because the engine's out, but that was at 14, and this was at 18. That had a Chrysler Hemi in it. This was just a neighborhood car, and I was being a cool kid leaning on it. The guy probably would have killed me if he saw me leaning on it.
Yeah, he'd beat you up. That's fantastic, Dave.
Some of you may recognize this car. A guy named Stan Gates built it. That was one of my favorites since I was a 46 to 48 Ford lover. That was in front of Pan Pacific Auditorium. Greg Sharp, some of you may know him too, gave me that picture.
Wow.
So I kind of cherish it. You can see I used the Kaiser grill bars in my 47 Ford like that one.
Yeah. Awesome. There's some more build pics here.
Here's the original proposal for the Firebird, this big sketch. When I got the sketch, I said, wow. And I called Harry and I says, we can't build that out of the Firebird. He says, oh, yeah, I think we can. Well, obviously, he was right.
Yeah. You know, I mean, for the time, that thing was just radical beyond belief, you know?
Yeah, the one, you know, it didn't fall into the custom car and hot rod category, but the one magazine that featured it, the heading said Firebird 1995. And, of course, it was finished in 76.
Yeah. Very radical. You got some build pictures.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get in here, Mike. This just, people that come by can get a little idea of what went into it. These are just the 3 views of the car that Harry did. Stock.
Yeah.
The front end modeled in clay, and the back end modeled in clay. And then there's the front end done in metal, ready for prime. And the door lengthened, and the back end in bare metal, and the finished car.
That's amazing. The if you go from there to there, it's amazing. You go from there, you see the difference in the doors. There's a significant difference there. And then the back end is just a lot of, you know, got the idea, you got the car, and you got the ride.
And if you think about all the cars over the years, there's certainly exceptions, but usually when an all-new model comes out, the first year, I think, is usually the best. When they start facelifting them, they've already gone through all those ideas. So it's very hard to facelift a car and have it look better than the original.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody better than Harry at that.
Yeah. Let's see, what do we got on the end here? Job 1 again, huh?
This is just a collage of the 47 Ford. There's a picture of me and Harry. I look a lot younger there when I was building the car.
Yeah. The car, I was fortunate to see portion of the build and just made me raise my standards. Then you got the actual car itself right here. So
yeah, I'm getting too old to build cars anymore, so I hang on to this one. I've always had to sell them to get the money to build the next one.
Well, like most of us.
I'll keep this one till I'm unable to enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. So most of the drivetrain and everything else is stock on this one?
Yeah, it's all rebuilt, but it's all stock, yeah, stock 428 Pontiac.
Yeah.
This car was hard to find these in 69 and 70, but there aren't many around now. I'm not sure why, but I had trouble finding it.
Yeah.
I always like to buy the best car you can find. These guys buy a piece of junk because they get it cheap,
Yeah.
and they think they're going to save money. Well, go for it. Buy the best car you can find. Find a rust-free one if you're in the East. This was an Oregon car that was rust-free, and it had every option on it, which I also wanted. So
Yeah.
I lucked out to find this one on the internet.
Just beautifully done. I love how you pull this whole area together too.
Here again, as I said, I like to lay the windshield back, so this windshield was laid back considerably. It's only chopped 2 inches. Since I wanted it to look like a factory concept car, I didn't want to chop it too much. And I have a belief that when you have a car like this where it's flat, the trunk is flat, you got to be very careful how much you chop it because they look kind of goofy, I think. If you got a fastback car and you lay the windshield back, you can chop the heck out of them and they look fine.
Yeah.
The other thing that Harry did, we had to have a new back window made because of it. He raised these corners of the window up 3 inches, which of course can't cut the tempered glass back window, so I had to have a new one made. But it goes with the taillights that have the same type of angle to them.
Kind of carries the design through.
Yeah. Those exhaust tips, that of course Harry designed, they have 120 hours on a CNC machine to make all 4 of them.
Wow.
And if you know these cars, all these 60s cars, the gas filler was in here, so we put that in the trunk and made a nice pocket and made a plexiglass cover.
I love
over.
the fit on that. This is just perfection fitted.
And I don't have a lot of high-tech tools. When I formed this in my wife's oven, made a mold, and then I wanted it flush around it with a die grinder to offset it 1/4 inch thick, and then sanded it and filed it till I got it, and it fits nice and flush. Same with the taillight lenses.
You made them too?
Yeah. You had to make the cans for the bulbs and everything.
Yeah. You are an amazing craftsman, my friend. Amazing. And all your work's done in lead.
Yeah. And they make some pretty good Bondo nowadays. I just like using lead.
It's less printing.
And it holds up forever. My 58 Pontiac that you saw earlier, they tell me the bodywork on that's still good. And I wasn't very good at metal shaping then, so there's a lot of lap joints and brazing, but it all held up fine, all done in lead.
Yeah.
The wheels Botnick made for me, found these in the center on the internet. They're out of a mid-70s Pontiac wire wheel cover.
Okay.
So my friend machined a circle in there, machined some plexiglass covers to go over them.
What did you do inside? Who did the interior?
Ron Magnus, you guys in California know who he is. Turn the power on here. I usually open the door with a remote, but just in case I don't have it, which I don't have it now, you've got a button under the fender.
Wow, that door is a mile long, huh?
We ought to take this stuff out of here for this, huh?
Yeah, this one's not for a regular parking spot, huh?
No. It'd be real easy to chip those doors up when you open the door.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is very minor changes in here.
Yeah.
This was a very good idea to make this piece on top of the dash that kind of goes with the stock Grand Prix dash. It looks like it's kind of a pilot's cockpit there.
Yeah.
We just made a piece of aluminum to cover up the stock gauges and made a chrome molding for it and put it right over the top of the stock gauges so it looks like a complete new dash, and got rid of the wood decals down here and made some brushed aluminum pieces. And same with the console, that was shiny chrome. I made that brushed instead of shiny chrome.
It looks fantastic.
I made all the panels and the moldings, as you can see on the other side there. to save me a little money with Ron Magnus doing the interior, but he did a nice job.
It looks absolutely gorgeous. I love how the door jamb worked out too. It's a long sweeping jamb.
Yeah, and I believe the door jambs should look as good as the outside of the car.
Absolutely.
I tell my buddies that we're at auction, they're in the door and look at the jambs. I'll tell you how good the car was restored.
Yeah.
Same with the bottom of the rocker panels.
Yep.
A friend of mine up the street got a real nice Street 55 Chevy, and he had a lift in his garage. And I went in there, and the bottom of the rockers were all rusty still. But it's a nice paint job.
Can't have that. I love this feature right here where you have the lines.
Yeah, those of you familiar with the 60s GM cars, all the cars, the fit here was terrible in most cases.
Yeah.
If you're unaware of it, Fisher Body made the body, and the division made the front end sheet metal, and they didn't always fit together good. Gaps will be quarter, half inch. This was a very difficult area to blend into the.
Yeah, it looks fantastic though.
And of course, you got to tighten up all the gaps. Some of them are a quarter inch wide. I think I had to weld, maybe the other side, weld a piece of 1/8 inch rod on the end of the door to get the gap closed up where it needed to be.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I think my old Suburban, my '89 Suburban, still had a 1/2 inch of shim on the front fender at the cowl.
I don't know if you can get a shot of the tires at all, Mike.
Oh, I think from the back I can get it. Those tires were really cool looking. Are those hand done? Or?
No, I was at the SEMA show, and I was walking through where they have all the tires, and I saw those. And they were made by a company from Europe called Vettestein.
Yeah.
But you may not recognize the name DeGiaro, but that's a design house over in Italy. He designed the tread for them. And I said, in fact, DeGiaro's name is on the side of the tire. I said, I got to have a set of those for the Pontiac. And I went to the guy I buy my tires from. He says, yeah, I can get those. He says, I don't deal with them very often, but I can get them. And they weren't any more expensive than any other tire. But
yeah.
They're very unique and kind of
go
with the car, I think.
Yeah. If you drive in the dust, they leave a pattern too.
Yeah, right.
So.
Did you want to look at the headlights? Or do we need to say anything about them?
I
get a lot of questions about those.
Yeah, let's tell the stories the way you know it, because you put a lot of hours in these headlights.
Well, I told Harry I want to do a headlight like we see on some of the new cars or some of the concept cars. So every time I saw a car that I liked the headlights on, I sent the picture to Harry. And he says, yeah, those are all great, Dave. But he said, all these new cars, the headlights lay back in the fenders. We got to make something vertical.
Uh-huh.
So he didn't show me any of his proposals. He says, I did a bunch of them and hung them on the wall for a week, and this is the one we're using. So I had to model them in clay. I built a wood box and modeled the chrome bezel in clay and took a mold off it and made a fiberglass bezel, which there's a few shops around the country that can chrome plate fiberglass, just like they do metal. They coat it with a conductive coating, and then they put copper nickel brass on it.
Wow.
And so the headlights themselves, the projector bulb of a Corvette.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I have a very good friend that's a machinist extraordinaire, so he helped me with all the machine work. This is a real thick piece of plexiglass. He machined those out crudely for me, and then I block sanded them and polished them.
They look fantastic.
People say, is that beveled glass? Well, it's beveled plastic.
It looks like beveled glass. That is one of those touches that makes this car so unique, too.
That's about it, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Dave. I felt it was important for us to cover some of this and share it with our audience. They love custom stuff, and you are the master. And watching you over the years, you've been kind of a mentor to me, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. You know, I never did it for a living. I only built cars for myself, but having been able to work at GM Styling and watch how they do all the prototypes, every lunch hour just about, I'd eat lunch real quick and go down and take a tour of the shops, which you weren't supposed to do unless you had business down there. But
yeah.
I got to see, I knew enough to see how they did everything, and then I was able to go home and practice it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much, Dave.
Okay.
I appreciate it. And thank you guys all for hanging the custom mics, and we'll have more coming later this week. See ya.
Okay. That